Okay, good morning, everyone. It's 9:30, right? 9:30, we're starting. Okay, so let me just get connected. Don't see anyone in the waiting room as yet. There we go. Okay, all right, and then let me just allow myself to screen share. All right, there we go. Right. Right, there we go. Okay, I'm just waiting for others to join. My rule is to always give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And the Zoom actually began already, so I'll have to deduct that 3 minutes. So I'll have to rejoin the link. It's not a problem. So you can see we're on October 21st, lesson plan for this week, and we're on Mathematics Senior 1. This is the lesson plan. The file itself is encrypted, right? The password is protected, and the password is actually Heinz. Now I can give you the password, but I need to make sure you're here because this lesson plan, as I said, is protected. I want to keep the confidentiality at its highest. All right. So let me close out that lesson plan. Right, there we go. Just waiting for the students. All right, I think I'll have to remake this meeting, but technically my time slates for 9:30, so I'm not in any incorrect approach. Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone doing today? Tired, man. Night of partying. Okay. Good morning, Payal, Jazil, Khalil. How's everyone doing? Everyone good?
Yes, sir.
So I'm actually moving. We're actually moving on to proportion. We did ratio last class, correct?
Yes, sir.
So proportion is the subtopic under ratio, right? And I'm sure you had extra class yesterday. Did anyone go to that extra class?
I went there, sir.
Right. What did you learn about proportion? Because I told the teacher to start proportion with you.
I did ratio, sir.
Oh, did ratio? Okay, so they didn't move to proportion. All right, so that'll be interesting for us to just start this class with proportion. So, did you attempt the work that I gave last class?
The work, sir? I did it, sir.
You did it? Jazil, did you do the work?
Yes, sir, I did the talk, sir. I submitted to you last night, sir.
All right. So remember, the tasks are for your benefit, right? So the more tasks you do, the better your grade on a cumulative score would be, right? Because if I only have one task for you, that'll be only one grade. But if I have multiple tasks, I'll find the averaging of those grades and give you as your coursework. So the more.
It's like what if you have. Like what you don't do zero tasks, sir, zero assignments, and zero tests.
Well, I'll speak to that person's parent and we'll move on from such. But let's get started today because I was just buying a little time to see if everyone will join. But we have a good amount of persons here. Ludi, welcome. Today we're talking about proportion, right? And it is to basically, the definition that we're going with is to divide a quantity in a given ratio, right? Let's go to the first projection slide. There we go. So we have this fraction, 4 divided by 5, right? Now, we want another fraction now that is the same value as that 4 divided by 5. Now, give me 4 multiplied by 5. What would that give you?
20.
Right? And 5 multiplied by 5?
25.
Okay, so we changed in that fraction both values using one number, right? We used 5 to change both values. So if both values are undergoing the same scenario, which is multiplied by 5, right? They would be the same value at the end, correct? Because it's only the same common value that's being multiplied. So that is to say, if you have a fraction and you want to change its magnitude, right? Such as 4 divided by 5 to 20 divided by 25. Good morning. Right? It will essentially be the same value because look here. This is something called cross multiplication. Anyone have ever heard of that?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir.
So because that 4 divided by 5 is being multiplied by the same number in the numerator and denominator, they have the same magnitude when you compare them. Everybody understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. You're only saying yes, sir, but I'm pretty sure you understand. Okay. Now, for this class, I want you to go on page 79 and we're going to actually do one together. So the question starts as such. Example 21, question A. Let me write it for those who don't have the textbook, or if you don't have the soft copy of the textbook. Let me write it for you. Right, so the question starts as such. You have $25,000. Write that for me. $25,000. Okay, that's a lot of money. I know all of you will be happy to get that money, but it is now divided among 2 of your family members. Right? In the ratio 2 to 3. Okay? What is the amount of the smaller portion? Okay. Now, do you see any topic that we touched on already? Any part of the question that says something that we touched on? Hint. Ratio. So let me highlight that because we already know what ratio is. Basically telling you that you have a fraction or 2 to 3 or 2:3. So you have 2 values being compared to each other, right? So we know that already. So in the case now, right, we are asked, so let's create a definition of proportion based on this question, right? What is a smaller portion? Right, for me? 2 quantities are said to be in proportion, right, when their values are in the same ratio. So in the case of the example of, let me wait a moment for you to write that. Right? So 2 quantities are said to be in proportion when their values are in the same ratio. Let me highlight that word, proportion, when their values are in the same ratio. Okay, let me give you an example before we go to the question, because this is, let me put it in, there we go. All right. So the gray is the definition, and the one above is the question. So you have $25,000 that is to be divided among 2 of your family members, and you're given a ratio 2 to 3. Now, what is the definition we said? Is when 2 values, 2 to 3, are in the same ratio. Okay? So now we have $25,000 and we need to divide it between Khalil and Athzura. And we need to divide it based on how much Khalil should get, which is 2 of that, and Athzura should get 3 of that. So let me ask you a question.
Huh? 3 can divide 25, so
right. Good. So Khalil just said that you can't divide 3 into 25,000, but not because it's not an equal value that you would have gotten. The reason why you can't divide it is because you're not involving your share, right? Because the 3 would be Athzura's share. My bad for spelling your name wrong. Athzura, right? Share.
Athzura share what to?
And right, so
look at the solution for example 21 and page 79, sir.
Right, so I'm explaining. Hold on, Khalil. I'm explaining now why you would have to follow the example here. So I'm giving you a scenario. Let's say you and Athzura are given $25,000, and the person that gave you that money said you're supposed to share it in 2 to 3. You have a share of 2. Athzura has a share of 3. Now you just told me that you can't divide 25,000 by 3, and I'm saying the reason why is because that would only be for Athzura's share. You haven't involved your share into it. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So in order to,
you have to say 2 plus 3, which will be 5, sir.
Right. So in order to get a proper share of one of both of you guys, you need to add the sum of both of your shares, right? So that would be in Khalil's, right?
Should you just write down the example on page 79, sir?
Right. You can write on the example, but I'll be going through that. But I'm just giving you a little notes beforehand. So it'll be 2 plus 3, and you said that was 5, correct? So now we're gonna say the total amount of ratios when used can find one, right? When used can find one share. Understand? So when you divide 25,000, so when you divide 25,000 divided by what? 5, you said? Correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That would be how much share?
5,000.
No, I'm saying like the total amount of shares divided by the value you got would give you how much shares? 1, correct?
But how does it give you 1?
All right, let me go back through it. 25,000 divided by F0 share would have given us.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right, so 25,000 divided by 3 would have technically given us F0 share, but it wouldn't tell us how much would have been Khalil's share. So in order to know exactly whose value is which, you need to divide by the total amount of shares, right? And that would have given you how much?
Sir, $5,000.
Right. Now, let's say the question says, what is Khalil's share now? Now that we know one share, right? How much is Khalil's share? And what was the ratio for Khalil?
2 to 3, sir.
2. So therefore, whatever value we got, which was 5,000, we could multiply it now by Khalil's share, which is 2. And what do you get for that?
10,000, sir.
Khalil is a rich person. And what would have been F0's share?
Only $5,000.
Repeat?
Only $5,000, sir.
Hold on one moment.
Wait. But Khalil gets 10,000, right?
Yeah, so 5,000 multiplied by 3.
15,000.
Correct, 15,000. 15,000. 15,000.
She gets 15,000, sir.
All right, let's go back through the steps.
Some amount from the 25,000.
Right.
Get 15,000.
So it would have been 5,000.
Why are you so rich?
5,000 multiplied by 3 would have been F0, and 5,000 multiplied by 2 would have been Khalil. So which ratio is higher, Khalil or F0? Right, and based on the values, you can see that yes, F0 would have been higher because she got 15,000, and that's proportion, right? Because when you add back both of these values, 10,000 plus 15,000 gives you
what? 10,000 plus 15,000 gives you 25,000.
Right, and that was the value that the person gave both of you. So now you see that you have two values that is in accordance with what was given. Right, so it's proven to be true because when you add back the two shares, it gives you back the total amount of money you were to divide in the first place. Everybody understand? Let me write that down. All right, write this for me. So share or ratio 1 plus ratio 2 is going to equal to the initial value. And let's prove it. Ratio 1 was Khalil's, which was 10,000, plus F0's share, which was 15,000. That will give us 25,000. So everybody see how it relates? Let me scroll down. There you go. So ratio 1 plus ratio 2 gives us back the initial value, which was in the question that said 25,000. Everybody understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, good.
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So let me close this up now. So have you taken this note?
No, sir, not yet.
All right, let me give you a moment. Let me give you a moment. All right, and we're gonna learn another method because this was the first method, right? I'm gonna quickly ask you a question, and I'm pretty sure you guys can get it. So let me type it quickly. Let me type it. Okay.
That was 26.
What is the fraction for
So what would do if a zero get a math problem? What would you do, sir?
Repeat?
If I get a math problem wrong,
Yes.
well, you would correct me.
F is zero.
It's wrong then. It's nothing really big.
All right. Now, is everyone finished with the notes?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now I want you now to look for me. I'm gonna scroll down. All right. Now answer these two questions for me. Based on the question above, what would be the fraction to represent Khalil's share?
2/3.
No, you're close though. It's 2 is a numerator divided by what? If
Divided by 10,000.
wait. Okay, let's backtrack. Let's backtrack. When we had the 2 share, what was the ratio?
2 to 3, sir.
2 to 3. The 2 was for Khalil, the 3 was for Azura. Now, what did we do to get 1 share?
Add 2 and 3 and I get 5.
Right. So what was the 5?
1.
No,
So the divisor, sir.
Oh,
right. At 0, you look like you got it. So the 5 was representing our total ratio, correct?
Yes,
yes,
Right.
sir.
So if we have 2 of that ratio, right, that would be 2 divided by 5 because the 5 is our total amount of ratios that could be shared. And Khalil got 2 of those. Right? So this value will represent our fraction to represent Khalil's share. 2 divided by 5. He got 2 shares out of the total amount of shares, which was 5. All right, now this one is yours all alone. What would be the fraction for Azura's share? Anyone? Right? How much did what was the share for Azura?
3.
Right? And what was the total amount of shares?
5.
Right. So that fraction now tells you the total amount of shares that Azura got. Here you go. Good. Now this actually takes us into the second method. So when you're finished with the notes, you're gonna write this for me. The second method using fractions. Okay. Let me put that in a little bit of a header. All right. Everyone finish with the notes?
Yes, sir.
All right. So write some of the second method using fractions. Okay, there we go. Now, remember one last time, because I have a very bad memory. What was Khalil's share?
2.
2. All right, so we're gonna write this. So the smaller share would give us a value of 2 divided by 5. Right? Let's put that in brackets. 2 divided by 5. Right. So now we have one part of the question. Because remember, we're still trying to find out his amount of money that he should get. Right? So what was the total amount of money that was going to be shared up? Anyone?
So the total amount of money that's supposed to be shared?
Yeah? What was the total amount?
25,000.
Right. So if we now use that fraction and multiply that 25,000, we are to still get 10,000. Understand? So multiply 25,000 by 2 and tell me what you got. So 2 multiplied by 25,000 would have given us. Let me write it out. 2 multiplied by 25 and then add 3 zeros at the end. So 2 times 25 will give us, come on guys.
30.
No.
50,000.
2 times 25 is 2 and 25 plus 25. 50, correct. So that 50,000, it still has a denominator attached to it, correct? What's the denominator? Right? 5. There you go. Right. So, hold on, my bad. So this is now Khalil's value using the second method. Now, 50,000 divided by 5, I'm pretty sure you can tell me. So 5 into 5 goes 1, and we'll just add back the rest of the zero. So what would still be 10,000, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. And you can do the second step, but let me just quickly go through it. The larger share would give us a value of 3 divided by 5, right? Multiplied by 25,000. Right, there we go. And then that was this. So in this question, you have to write English statements to explain each step. In the previous question, all you have to do was write formulas, right? But in this question, because you're only using fractions, you have to explain what the fraction mean. So that's the difference. So this is now Zura's share using the second method, which would be 15,000. Right. And that's the sum up of everything. Okay? That's practically what proportion is. So now what I want to do, I'm pretty sure I prepared some fun diagrams for you. One moment. All right. Pretty sure some fun diagrams. All right. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do a harder one now. That was a pretty simple question. Okay. We're going to use real world scenarios, not just our classmates, but we want to actually learn how to use real questions. So we're going to move on to exercise 3Q. Everybody there? Exercise 3Q on page. We're going to do as much as possible. I'm just kidding. We're going to do question 1. Right.
What?
Right. So,
we're going to do from 1 to 10, sir.
No.
Only has 10 questions.
Right, so we're only gonna do 2, and then your task will just to be do is it gonna be do 5, 6, and 7 as homework.
And what's the page?
Page 80, chapter 3, in volume 1. So let me write the question for you.
We're going to give us the other 8, sir.
No, I'm gonna give you 3 of the other 8 to give you. 5, 6, and 7 will be our homework. But for now, let's just do question 1 together. So now the question says 2 lengths are in the ratio 7 to 8, right? If the first length is 273 meters, right? What amount is the second length? And I'm gonna pick on someone, not pick on, but I'm gonna ask for assistance from someone. Let me decide who I'll choose. All right, so I want. Oh, David was in the waiting room.
Are you going to choose Azura to do the question?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
My bad, David. I didn't see you in the waiting room. My apologies. Hello, David. Welcome. I didn't see you in the waiting room. I didn't get a notification, but not to worry. We're just going at exercises now, but you can see the rest of the video when I post it. Let me just